I've always avoided social media, and generally, my rationale for doing that is that the amount of effort, both mentally and emotionally, one has to invest to get really anything meaningful out of social media has been far too high, in my opinion. And that's not even factoring in the relatively new but very real hazards that existing on some of these platforms has presented. There have been legitimate times where people have lost their entire livelihood for things that they've said on platforms many years back. And that's generally, I suppose it's a consequence of the fact that the internet has no capacity to forget, and our changing social norms make it such that one can say something which would be socially acceptable at the time and then yet have that brought up in the future in a way that people have lost their entire livelihoods. And that's a legitimate danger of social media that many people just didn't see coming. It blindsided quite a few. And so, for those reasons, I've avoided social media like the plague. And yet, more and more, I recognize that if someone is to exist in this world, they must also exist on the internet. And that's a trend that I believe will only continue to become more and more prevalent. If one must exist on the internet, I wish to exist in audio form, particularly because I feel like it's a much more personable form of media. Whereas text is efficient, it's very easy to misconstrue. It can be read quickly and it can be shared instantaneously, but that also means that that human element of communicating, the inflection in someone's voice, the amount of time they take and pause when they're pondering something, it allows people to recognize that there's another person on the other end, and that I feel like inoculates someone from the misconstruing of their ideas, perhaps a little bit. Maybe I could be wrong on that. That is something that only time will tell, I suppose. And so for now, this channel will be a repository of my thoughts, feelings, and opinions. And perhaps in the future it could become something more than that. And I won't claim to be correct, but one thing I will always try to be is genuine. Because an interesting thing about the internet is it doesn't particularly care about one's credentials. And that's become more apparent by the types of people who have become famous on the internet. But in my opinion, what the internet cares about more than really anything is resonance.